The universal impersonal. However, we must not make the mistake of conceiving of a personal mind apart from the impersonal, for the personal can rise into individuality only out of the impersonal. And to conceive of a personal separate from the impersonal will lead us to attempt to accomplish things by human will and force alone. And this again will lead to a universe of many minds, God's mind and each of ours, and thus to eternal conflicts of purpose and consequent turmoil. Nor shall we ever conceive of an impersonal mind apart from a personal. This will lead to the assumption that the universe is one merely of mechanical force, and thus to materialism, atheism, and ignorance. Back of all personal expressions of life must be that from which they spring, and as being, from its very nature of being, that which is, must be one, the impersonal life of the individual must share in that being or life, and the personal life of each of us must rest eternally back on the one source of all. Personalizing the universal impersonal, the famous talking horses. We can find illustrations of the direct relationship of the individual forms of life and the universal in plants, animals, and man. I think, however, the science has never had so startling a proof of what metaphysics has long taught as can be found in the trained horses of Elberfeld. I confess that I cannot write of them without such a thrill, as one experiences only in presence of a great mystery. For though science has admitted that these horses actually do perform the wonders which I relate, still we must recall that the back of everything we know is as great a mystery as the face of everything we do not know. The horses in question were trained by a man named Krall, and the genuineness of their performances is attested by an imposing list of leading scientists of several countries. Various theories have been advanced as to the source of the intelligence of these animals, but no reputable scientist now questions the fact of the intelligence itself. The facts are these: a system of numbers is arranged in such a way that the horses will know that a certain number of blows with the foot will represent each figure. For instance, following the English method of numbers, 24 will be represented first by 2 blows and then 4. A certain number of blows also represent each letter of the alphabet, so that the horse can spell out any word that he may desire. With this simple machinery of language, and without the aid of a voice, the horses perform prodigies of intelligence that are more than marvelous. Asked to multiply 24 by 7, for example, the horse will strike out the reply with instantaneous quickness and apparently without any conscious calculation. The horses have been taught how to extract the square root of numbers and can extract it instantly from any number that gives an exact root. Not only this, but also without having been taught to solve any number beyond the square root of 144. The horses can extract the cube root of any number and even a fourth root. When Metterlink visited the stables at Elberfeld, he was introduced by Krall to Muhammad, one of the horses, and the horse was asked to spell Metterlink's name, which he accomplished with little difficulty. To prove that there was no collusion on account of a previous knowledge of his visit, Metterlink remained with Muhammad alone and asked him to spell the name of his hotel, Weidenhof. This the animal did. Now I go to search if this is true. I still have not clear if this is a true story or a fraud. Go to make your research. One day, Zarif, another of the horses, suddenly stopped in the midst of his lessons. They asked him the reason. "Because I am tired." Another time he answered, pain in my leg. One day Krall and his collaborator, Dr. Scheller, thought that they would try to teach Muhammad to express himself in speech. The horse, a docile and eager pupil, made touching and fruitless efforts to reproduce human sounds. Suddenly he stopped, and in his strange phonetic spelling declared, by striking his foot on the springboard, I have not a good voice. I don't know if this is true. Observing that he did not open his mouth, they strove to make him understand, by the example of a dog, with pictures and so on, that in order to speak, it is necessary to separate the jaws. They next asked him, what must you do to speak? He replied by striking with his foot, open the mouth. Why don't you open yours? Because I can't. I took quote directly from Maeterlinck's unknown guest because he personally examined the case of the horses and because after a study of all theories designed to account for such a stunning intelligence, he comes to the conclusion that the horses are the instrument through which a vaster intelligence articulates. The theory of signs, imperceptible to the onlooker, had to be abandoned because one of the horses, Berto, is blind and could not detect such signs. Nor is it what we call mental telepathy, for, as Maeterlinck amusingly relates, he himself did not know the answer to some of the problems he proposed, while examining the horse alone in the stable, and more than that he never had known, and did not even know where nor how to get it. How then could the horse read it from his mind? Other experiments also have been made to show that it is not telepathy. By a series of experiments and deductions, into which we cannot go here, since space does not permit, and which the student or skeptic can examine for himself to better advantage in the book above mentioned, Maeterlinck comes to the conclusion that we can attribute the almost superhuman intelligence of the horses only to a subliminal consciousness which is in touch with the immediate answer to every problem. Like the mathematical prodigies of history who have been able to calculate numbers without the aid of rules, and by some immediate process, the horses seem to read the answer from some cosmic page. Such an explanation seems also necessary to explain the quickness which they exhibit in learning words and their meanings, for in a few weeks they learn what a child must take a long time to acquire in the use of language. Maeterlinck concludes that either we must attribute to the horse an intelligence which challenges belief as beyond that of ordinary human powers, or else we should have to admit that there is in the horse, and hence most probably in everything that lives on this earth, a psychic power similar to that which is hidden beneath the veil of our reason, and which, as we learn to know it, astonishes, surpasses, and dominates our reason more and more. This psychic power, in which no doubt we shall one day be forced to recognize the genius of the universe itself, appears, as we have often observed, to be all-wise, all-seeing, and all-powerful. It has, when it is pleased to communicate with us, or when we are allowed to penetrate into it, an answer for every question and perhaps a remedy for every ill. I have not quoted here in order to establish Maeterlinck's opinion as an authority, but I have presented the facts as he found them, and the reader can judge for himself. For my part, I see here but another evidence of the truth that there is but one mind functioning through many individuals, expressing in many things, embodying many ideas. This is simply another of those scientific evidences of the principles of mental science which are daily coming to end. We see then that the individualized consciousness, at the deeper points of its current, mingles freely with the subterranean stream from which it instinctively draws, and by which it is fed and sustained, either wittingly or unwittingly. The individualized mind, forgetful of its origin, engrossed in the affairs and complication of the unobjective world, loses its consciousness of the all-embracing wisdom and seldom flows to the surface, the pure ideas from the profound and placid depths. Yet there come moments in life when some storm smites the surface, and we quiver to the depth of our being. It is then that pure intuitions come to us, and we see with startling vision. We know with supernatural clearness. We understand without the processes of reason. Something rises up within us to take possession, leading us out of peril, giving us the strength, inspiring us to the necessary action, acting as the creative genius and the ruling spirit that masters every power that threatens. And woe to that man or society that stands in the path of the God-inspired soul, for he announces divinity, and in him God himself is marching onward to his triumph.